Welcome to the home of Grand Canyon hiking. This is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Get your rim-to-rim shirts, hoodies, and more at brightangeloutfitters.com, along with tons of free resources to help you plan your adventure. We created Bright Angel Outfitters to help you hike your best hike. Now, here's your host, my hubby, and co-founder of Bright Angel Outfitters, Brian Special.
All right, thank you, Zeena. We are here at a different kind of time, not our normally scheduled time, and that's because this is a special bonus edition of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. And that is because we got some news today that is going to affect a lot of people's hikes and a lot of people's plans. And I think there are a lot of people out there right now wondering how it affects them and what they are going to do about it. And that's because late this afternoon, we got word that the waterline project that has wreaked havoc on the trails and on the schedule and on the infrastructure of the Phantom Ranch area and all of the Bright Angel and South Kaibab trails for that matter, especially Bright Angel. South Kaibab only affected because of what's going on Bright Angel. But the project is continuing and it is delayed, we found out today. So while we were expecting the entirety of Bright Angel Trail all the way through the Silver Bridge to Phantom Ranch to open up on May 15th to coincide with the beginning of Rim to Rim season. Instead, we got the unfortunate news today that yes, Bright Angel is going to be open to the river, but it's not what it sounds like. The river trail, which is what Bright Angel turns into, is now going to be closed from the River Rest House all the way to the South Kaibab Junction until September 30th. So what that means is if you're doing rim to rim, especially for those of you going from North Kaibab to the south side, and most people will go North Kaibab to Bright Angel because it's just the proper way to go because there's more shade and there are water stops all along Bright Angel. That is no longer an option. Bright Angel is completely cut off at the River Rest House. So the Silver Bridge is closed. There is no way to access Phantom Ranch on your way down Bright Angel, and there is no way to get to Bright Angel from Phantom Ranch. So what that means is your only option, if you are going from north to south, is you can exit on South Kaibab, which is never recommended in the hottest months of the year, which can make up the entirety of Rim to Rim season from May 15th through October 15th. Or you could take South Kaibab up to the tip-off and meet up with the Tonto Trail and go west to connect with Bright Angel and take Bright Angel out from there. That, however, adds, when you get to tip-off, it adds 4 miles to your hike. And it also puts you on the Tonto Trail in the heat and in the exposure, which is no place that you want to be. That can be just as dangerous, and it makes your hike that much longer. So what is someone to do? This is so unfortunate that the Park Service had to do this. You know, someone said to me just a few days ago, they're like, I wonder if Bright Angel is going to open on schedule. And I remember thinking and saying, of course it's going to. There's not a scenario I can imagine where the Park Service would keep Bright Angel closed and force people to go up South Kaibab because it's so dangerous in the summer months. I didn't think there was any chance they would do that. You would think that would be like the number one priority with the contractors down there. You have to get the river trail and Bright Angel open on schedule on May 15th so that people can exit the canyon as safely as possible. But that has not happened. And now the only options are very, very dangerous ones, potentially. And honestly, this is something that could cost someone their life. It could cost someone their life. I mean, there's just no beating around the bush with this. This is a serious, serious situation, and you really need to think about how you are going to handle your rim to rim. Well, I'm going to bring in now someone who knows so much about hiking in the canyon. I've hiked with her before. The strongest hiker that I have ever hiked with, and she's down there all the time, and I know she's got some opinions on this, and that is Buffy Park. Buffy, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think you know as well as I do, it's important that we get the information out there and we talk about it and kind of go through the alternatives that people had. But just when you got this news earlier today, what was your initial reaction?
I mean, my honest initial reaction was people are going to die. I really truly think people are going to die. It took me even a while to remember that like it's going to cancel my plans. But my first thought was this is really, yeah, unlike you, I wasn't really that surprised. I mean, in the back of my head, I've had like an inkling for two reasons. One, construction projects are never on time. And then two, about a month ago, they canceled the mule rides for the whole rest of the year. And, fortunate for all of us that were able to get Phantom Ranch reservations, but I even said out loud, "Is anybody asking why this happened?" Because
Yeah.
that really tipped me off, like maybe there was not going to be, we weren't on schedule. But truly, like my biggest fear is that people have this planned out. We're talking about, people planning stuff less than almost a month away. Um, and it's a bucket list thing, and people are going to try to pivot and just do something different, or look at just the mileage, or look at, I can just do it this way. And I'm telling you, the options are not great.
No.
Um, and I've already, just in whatever the 7 hours that it's been released, seen so much misinformation out there about what you can do or what you should do, or just take extra water, or, just haul 3 liters. And it's, I'm concerned about people. There's, besides for the people that are out there and being prepared and know what's going on, there are still people that are posting the surprising news of the closures that we've had that have been so widely publicized. But now we're talking about like a short time span to get the information out. And I mean, summer's hard on any day, but this is just going to make it killer.
I should mention that the Plateau Point Trail, I didn't mention that in the beginning. Plateau Point is also going to be closed through September 30th or to September 30th. That'll be almost 2 years by the time they get that reopened, if it reopens on schedule. And I don't know if you've seen what's going on at Havasupai Gardens and at Plateau Point. It used to be just a nice meandering path that you can see from the rim, going out to Plateau Point, a very famous location off of Bright Angel Trail that you access from Havasupai Gardens. Right now, that little path that goes out there, it looks like the Grand Canyon superhighway. I mean, we're talking like it's like a 2-lane road going out there. Have you seen everything going on down there? This construction project is a big deal.
It really is. And some of my thoughts when I've seen this is just like, I hope that it eventually, like, the environment comes back and it doesn't look like that. And I'm hoping, that in a few years, so some growth back and whatever will, get you back to the beauty. And I'm worried about what it's going to look like. And I mean, even just watching the destruction of the trees that were, diseased or whatever, they were still standing. But there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, but a necessary, in the name of progress, this is a necessary project to get 100%. The water line up and running. So these kind of things will happen. And like you said, what construction projects actually run on time? So maybe I was naive in thinking that they would get Bright Angel open and not risk, essentially people's lives, hikers' lives who don't know any better are going to find themselves on South Kaibab. So let's talk about these alternatives, because we both have a lot of experience on the corridor trails. And the one that we're most concerned with, without question, is people who are hiking from the North Rim to the South Rim, who now cannot go up Bright Angel and cannot be protected by the shade late in the afternoon, and don't have the access to water stops at Havasupai Gardens and 3 Mile Rest House and 1.5 Mile Rest House. Now you're faced with either going up South Kaibab, which has no water whatsoever, is completely exposed. There is very little shade, and it's steeper and more difficult than Bright Angel, or cutting across Tonto to hook up with Bright Angel and making your hike that much longer. What would you do if you're going from north to south?
Well, the first thing that I would do is I wouldn't. I mean, honestly, like I would do everything in my power to figure out a logistic way to go from south to north. Like, I think that's your number one goal right now. If you can figure it out, if you can pivot, if you can camp instead of a room, whatever you need to do, like that would be my first option. My second option would be to figure it out so that I'm not hiking in any sort of daylight. If I'm going up South Kaibab, I'm not doing it in the daytime. I think that going across Tonto is a terrible option. Again, if you want to do it at nighttime, sure, go for it. But Tonto's just as awful exposed as South Kaibab. You're just adding yourself a 4-mile trek through the brutal heat. Some of the pieces of misinformation I've already seen out there is, the water source on Tonto, and I've never seen anything but like a muddy river. I've not ever seen anything. I know that occasionally maybe there is enough to filter, but it's certainly not anything I would bank on, and for sure not in the heat. I've seen people talking about the rain collection at tip-off. That's not an option. That's not something
No.
to count on. I assure you that's going to be depleted. It's going to be gone, even if there is rain anytime around there.
I've never
So
seen
you're,
water in those tanks,
no,
not even one
yeah,
time.
right. I've never tried it. I've never needed to, but like, I don't think that's for sure not an option. So, it's not even just how much water would I have to carry up South Kaibab, which even 3 liters, I don't think is enough if this is your first time out the canyon in the daytime. It's not just the drinking water, it's the being able to soak your clothes in the creek. It's the being able to soak your clothes at the water stations. The amount of water, you can't take enough water to be able to douse yourself in water to cool your body temperature down. And even like pushing out to like September, the worst day I've ever seen with people needing rescue in the canyon was on a September day because it was humid and it was hot. It was for sure the worst I've ever seen people. In general, the most people that I've had to help out. So like saying like, oh, September, beginning of October, it's still not doable.
It could happen. It could happen where they get nice weather. You get nice weather in early October, but it's unlikely. Last year, past October 15th, we had days over 100 degrees.
So I will say that as an option. I mean, if you're local, if you're Phoenix local and you just want to get this done, you've been training and you want to get this done over the summer and you're able to just go up there tomorrow. There are days during the summer that it's doable, the overcast. We've had, cool down weeks and whatever. I've hiked it through the summer, but I've never like planned on going to go on this day, come hell or high water. It's always, oh my gosh, we're going to be 20 degrees cooler this weekend. I'm going. So if you can catch a break like that, but for the people that have reservations and they've got dates set in stone, you really need to start thinking about how am I going to do this at nighttime? I really don't. The canyon at night's gorgeous. Like it's not a bad option. It's still going to be hot, but you're not going to have the blazing sun on you.
It's outside of switching directions. I don't think there's another relatively safe option because, like you said, you cannot be caught on South Kaibab and on Tonto in the middle of the day. You just can't do it. There's nowhere to hide. The sun is just beating down on you. It's probably going to be well over 100 degrees. It is almost every single day in the summer in Arizona. It's a desert climate. It's dry. It's miserable. But let's say you're going down the North Rim and you take some time at Ribbon Falls, and maybe you take your time a little bit longer at Ribbon Falls. And then man, but even then, as I think this out, even if you're doing that, now you've still got to hike through the frying pan and through the box in the heat of the day. So no, you really can't do that unless you stayed at Ribbon Falls until late in the afternoon when it starts shading in, and then hike the rest of the hike, including up South Kaibab in the darkness, which is an option. But if you're just going to go straight through, just stop at Ribbon Falls, and you got that traditional 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning start, and you get yourself to Phantom Ranch mid-morning, let's say at the latest, you've escaped the heat of the box and of the frying pan. Now, if you get to Phantom and at that traditional time, where normally you would just keep on going after maybe having lunch and getting a drink and resting for a little bit and maybe soaking in the creek, you would keep going and you'd go up Bright Angel and you would bank on 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It starts to shade in, and now you've got a fairly pleasant hike on the way out. South Kaibab, you are not going to have that option. So now when you get to Phantom Ranch, I think the only way to do it is to hang out in the Phantom Ranch area, hang out in the canteen. They've got that open again. Hang out there, send some postcards, play some cards, drink some lemonade, hang out in the air conditioning that they've got in there. Go to the creek, maybe go down to Boat Beach, but take your time in the Phantom Ranch area and do not try to ascend South Kaibab until, I would say, dusk. You can watch our shade tracker and see that the lower part of South Kaibab from the bridge up to tip-off, which is 2.1 miles and 1,500 feet of elevation gain. Oh, and when you get to the top and you get to tip-off, it gets much harder from there. You do not want to be even in that lower section in direct sun. So you need to wait until dusk or until that starts to, that's shading in, and then you're going to do the rest of the hike in the dark. I do not see a safer, more, I don't see a logical way to do it except for that, because any other time, even if you get there in the morning and you started at midnight or something, you're still going to run into the heat going up South Kaibab. You do not want to do that. You have to avoid the heat at all costs, and you have to avoid that midday sun.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, I have never in my life been a proponent for somebody else telling me what to do. I loathe our closed trails here in Phoenix, you know, the main ones that they're closing now in the summers. But I almost feel like it's irresponsible for the park to even allow South Kaibab to be open from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I mean, they've had weird closures before. There's, you know, but times that I've been skunked out of going up North Kaibab, you know, in the last 2 years when I thought it was going to be open and they closed it down for, you know, the daytime. I don't see why they couldn't. I wish they would. Not because I want to not hike, but because this is going to be one of those scenarios where people are going to simply look at the mileage or simply feel like, well, we can do it. We'll just take extra water. And it's not going to be that simple. It's not going to be that easy. It's not about the mileage. Like you said, like it's the water that you're drinking. It's the water that you're soaking in. It's the shade on Bright Angel. There's so many more factors than just, you know, well, bummer, not getting up to the trail that I wanted to.
You know, you and I have so much experience on these trails, and I can say flat out, I would have said before today, if South Kaibab's involved, it's not happening with me in the summertime. And honestly, I was just there 2 days ago, and did a rim to river from South Kaibab Trailhead to Phantom Ranch and back, and we hiked back in the middle of the afternoon, and the temperatures were in the 60s. And I said numerous times to the gentleman that I was hiking with, I said, this is as warm as I want it. This is almost too much for me. I know you like to hike when it's in the 70s and 80s, but for me, and I think for a lot of people, when you start to get into the 60s and 70s with that direct sun overhead, that's a lot to take. Okay, so now let's talk about summer when it's 90 degrees, 100 degrees, 110 degrees in the shade. We're talking about in the shade. These temperatures could be 120, 130 degrees on South Kaibab in the middle of the day. I'm not messing with it in the summertime. I will hike out in the dark, even if I do a rim to river in the summertime, the traditional South Kaibab to Bright Angel. I'll go down in late afternoon down South Kaibab, and I time it so that I hike out in the dark because it's just the only really safe way to avoid that deadly, potentially sun in the worst times of the day. You don't want that sun on you. And that, by the way, because of the unique nature of canyon hiking, you're hiking up at the end. That's the most strenuous part. That's the part when you need to be hiking in the shade or in the darkness.
I can't say this in any stronger language. I am an absolute sun worshiper. I love the heat. I'm born and raised in Arizona. I am outside year round. I'm a PE teacher. So, I mean, today I spent 6 hours outside teaching today, and it was 97 degrees. And I was not bothered by that. Heat truly does not affect me the way it does other people. People laugh at me. They think I'm crazy. I'll do anything in the heat. I ride my bike in the heat. I was on my bike at noon today. That being said, you will not catch me on South Kaibab this summer or any summer during the daytime. It's insane. You know, my own plans, you know, I've got reservations on the North Rim and on the South Rim. The idea was the first weekend I can get up there after it opens is north to south, sleep, south back to north. I'm not going to do it. I'm probably going to pivot to going down to Ribbon. I still want to get to the north because, you know, I need my cookies. But I'm going to go north, you know, to Ribbon and back, 16 miles. You know, I'll have the North Rim weather and some shade, and you know that's something that I can handle. But there's different ways to do this. The canyon's not going anywhere. It sucks. It super sucks for a lot of people.
You know, and I think a lot of people doing that north to south route are thinking about, well, you know, my hotel's at Bright Angel. This is what I had planned to go up Bright Angel. So I'm just going to go up South Kaibab and I'm going to cut across to Havasupai Gardens, and then it's going to be all good. Well, let's look at this situation. The Tonto Trail intersects at the tip-off. And so you get to tip-off, let's say. Now you've got a decision to make. It's 4.5 miles from the tip-off to the South Kaibab trailhead. You're done, right? It's 9 miles from the tip-off across Tonto and up Havasupai Gardens. So there's absolutely nothing to be gained by saying, oh, I'm just going to cut across to Bright Angel and then I'm going to have water and shade. Yeah, but you're putting all those extra miles on your feet, and you've probably hiked across Tonto in the daytime, and it could potentially get yourself in some trouble with the heat.
Like, not only do I don't think that's a better option, even if that's what you're planning on. That's not a better option.
No.
But the minute you get to tip off and you've got you're the mileage guy, but you've got like 14, it's plus 4, what are you, 18
Already
miles
on your
in?
feet? You mean already on your feet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You're coming from the north, right? So then you're at tip off and you're going to sit there and try to make a decision about whether you're still going to go over to Havasupai Gardens or you're just going to climb out. You're going to make a poor choice. I don't think either choice is better, but even if you've got in your head, well, all I got to do is get to Havasu Gardens, you're going to get to tip off and you're going to go, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to keep going up South Kaibab, and you are going to hate your life in 2 miles.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're going from the other direction, the south to north, which is what Buffy is recommending, you're going to be relatively unaffected by this. You know, you can still go down South Kaibab and just go straight up North Kaibab. So your plans do not change, and you should consider yourself very lucky. Okay, so let's look at some of the questions we've got, because we posted this on Facebook. It's obviously created quite the stir. Let's see what we have here, Buffy. Let's just go through this. Grace says, we have a Phantom Ranch reservation the first week of June. We plan to swap and go South Kaibab to North Kaibab, whereas previously we were going north to south. What are the biggest differences to prepare for, both mentally and physically? Now, this is something that we could just tell Grace, hey, go to episodes 49 and 50 when Buffy and I talked at length about the difference between going in the two directions. But just real briefly, what do you think? Are there any differences mentally and physically to changing directions?
I don't think so. Honestly, I think they're in the sweet spot right there. If they're able to do that just made their trip, and they're going to be fine. We've talked ad nauseum about which way is easier and which way is harder, and I think they're going to be fine. I mean, obviously you've got a longer climb out, but it's really not significantly longer. Your actual climb from Manzanita up versus your climb on South Kaibab up, I don't think that they need to change anything. If they were prepared to do it the other way, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and if you can make that change, just consider yourself lucky. I did check on the reservations at Grand Canyon Lodge on the North Rim. I did not check Kaibab Lodge or Jacob Lake Inn, which are the only other two lodging options outside of camping. Grand Canyon Lodge had a couple of nights of availability in the May 20th area, so you may want to get on that. And also Grand Canyon Lodge, which I think is the preferred place to stay on the North Rim without a doubt. They had availability just about every day throughout the summer. We're talking June, July, August, and about halfway into September. You know, they close again on October 15th, so there's nothing from mid-September to mid-October till they close. That's prime time. But during the summer, if you have a summer rim-to-rim planned, you know, there's a chance that you could go on there and get yourself a room and make this switch and just figure out the logistics in reverse, and you will probably have a significantly better experience. Even when all things are equal, south to north, speaking for myself, is my favorite direction to go, because to me there's nothing like finishing on the North Rim. Okay, here's another one. CJD says, should we move heaven and switch directions and go south to north, which would involve possible hotel changes and shuttle changes and getting a ride from the North Rim to our hotel? Or should we stick with the original north to south and just hang out at Phantom Ranch until evening? We're hiking on the 23rd of May, but may consider the 22nd. So this goes directly to what each of us is talking about.
So I guess my answer is if I could move heaven, I would absolutely do that. Like, that would be my first go at it. I would also say that I would think that in the next 7 days, you're going to see cancellations at the north and the south almost equally as people try to maneuver, because most people, regardless of which direction they're going, have some kind of reservation on both sides. Now they're just having to tweak it. So just as many people are going to cancel the north on, one day to try to pick it up on a different day as they are going to cancel the south. I know I, for one, am going to be canceling some reservations on the 18th of May on the south side. So I think that in the next 7 days, I would try to get on there multiple times a day and be looking for cancellations for whatever I can get to work. Both of those, you know, the in the park lodges, right, where I agree with you, those are the places I'm staying. You know, that you can cancel up to 72 hours in advance. So those things are going to happen. There's going to be movement. There's going to be shifting. So I would watch those like a hawk. My second option, yeah, totally. Hang out at Phantom Ranch, just like you said. Hang out there for, you know, a really, really long time. It's a cool place to hang out. That's not a bad thing to do. It's going to make your day super duper long because you do still need to get to Phantom, you know, not in the heat. So you got to get there early. You're going to hang out there all day long, but you've got access to water. You've got access to food. You've got bathrooms. You've got air conditioning. You've got, you know, you can buy yourself some ice and hang out. They've got cards. They've got games, and then head out when it's dark.
By the way, you just mentioned the ice. I was just down at the Phantom Canteen a couple of days ago. The number one buy that you can make at Phantom Ranch is the bag of ice, right? A 10-pound bag of ice at the bottom of the Grand Canyon on a warm day will be the best $6.50 you ever spend, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, here's another one. And I feel for people like this. We're so lucky that we live in Phoenix and we can be flexible and make adjustments essentially on the fly and watch the forecast and be like, oh, next week looks great, I'm going. Or, you know, vice versa. It's going to be too hot, we'll do it another time. We're so lucky, but so many people aren't. This is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It's a bucket list hike. Man, we feel for you. Okay, Joyce says, have all the arrangements for North Kaibab to Bright Angel on May 21st. Vacation time, flights, rental car, south to north shuttle, 2 nights pre-hike North Rim, 2 nights post South Rim. Ooh, that's good. 2 nights pre-hike on the North Rim, 2 nights post on the South Rim. Been training for more than a year. Can't imagine that we could rearrange to switch directions, pondering the options. But Joyce has, Buffy. She has 2 nights, she said, pre-hike on the North Rim and 2 nights post-hike on the South Rim. So that's quite a window where she absolutely can make those changes if she has to. And man, that would be great if she could.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, even if it's a matter of just taking the shuttle from the south to the north. And I mean, yeah, she's another one that I would really start just scouring for the next 7 to 15 days to try to find a cancellation and to just move it around. That's a big one.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another one from Jen. First timers hiking North Kaibab to Bright Angel October 14th. Chances of reopening on time and how to track if they're on schedule or not. If we had that answer, let me tell you something, right, Buff?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't have the crystal ball for that one.
Yeah, I wish there was a way where the only way is to just keep following us. As soon as we hear something, we, of course, will let you know instantly. Follow the Park Service, follow the website, follow their Facebook pages. That's the best way. But is there a guarantee? No, because I thought if there was anything close to a guarantee, again, I was shocked today, and I probably shouldn't have been, but I thought there was no way they would risk having Bright Angel not be accessible during the entirety of Rim to Rim season. I didn't think it was a possibility because they know the alternatives too. They know how taxing this is going to be on the Rangers and on all the staff, and there are going to be so many more emergency calls. And to your point earlier, Buffy, honestly, and I hate that we're even thinking like this, but closing all the way down to to Phantom Ranch, closing the access to Phantom Ranch, to the river, cutting off Rim to Rim season essentially this year might have been the smartest thing to do, because this is just setting up to be, on paper and just looking forward and making educated guesses. This is setting up to be a potential disaster of a summer.
It really is, and it's so hard to make a smart choice when you're in the thick of it. It's so hard once you've got those reservations and what's gone into it, and you've been training and you've been planning, and all of that goes into it. It's just, it's so hard to make a good decision right now. I think for a lot of people, it's going to be really, really hard. Another thing that I remember, a group I met at least a couple of years ago, and I was so impressed with this. They had traveled from out of state, and they were there, but they had all written down and agreed to like a go no go point. temperatures, humidity, like, if the forecast says this, we will not go. And I think that's something that people need to look at is set your parameters before you get there. Set your, go, no go, because even if you think you're going to do this and you think you're going to get out of there by like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, but it's one of our days that's going to be 115, like you need to be able to say, like, this is not what we're doing today.
Man, that's so smart. That group mentality is fantastic when everybody especially is on the same page. All right, let's do one more here. I think we're settling on a consensus here, which I think is great. First time, this is Ashley. She says, first time ever to the Grand Canyon and was planning North Kaibab to Bright Angel in one day on May 22nd. We don't have a fast group. Wondering how many miles it adds to take the route around and connect to Bright Angel via Tonto. Or would it be better to switch direction doing South Kaibab to North Kaibab? See, everybody's kind of landing on the same thing, Buffy.
Yeah.
We have no heat training. We are from North Idaho, so we are nervous about no water access on South Kaibab. And you should be nervous about having no water access on South Kaibab. And I'm not 100% sure, Buffy, what the answer is about how much water to take up South Kaibab because, we're all so different.
I can't carry enough.
Yeah, and it's so heavy. Even if you've brought 6 or 7 liters, I mean, we're talking about so much weight there. But to Ashley's question about cutting across Tonto to Bright Angel, I think we're both just going to say no. Don't do that. If you're going to have to suck it up and go, you're going to have to just go up South Kaibab, take the less miles. But the whole point is that if you are going to do that and you're not able to switch directions, first priority would be to switch directions and figure out how to go from south to north. If you have to stick to your original plan, then again, you've got to hang out at the bottom. You got to hang out at Phantom Ranch. You got a group. It sounds like you got a great group. You guys will have an amazing time just hanging out in the canteen and in the Phantom area and just enjoying being in the bottom of the Grand Canyon and enjoying each other's company and dipping in the creek and going down to Boat Beach and dipping yourself in that ice cold Colorado River. That's an experience in itself. And then hiking out in the dark. Yeah, it's a bummer that you have to do it that way, but I would do that. And then because you missed all of the views on South Kaibab, the next morning or the next late afternoon, I would go down South Kaibab to Uwat Point or Cedar Ridge so you can see what you missed. Boom, you've got the whole Grand Canyon experience.
Yep. There's some really nice benches down there by Phantom where you can take a little nap.
Yeah. But don't do Tonto. I think you're right. It's a bad idea. Why are you going to add miles and add time in the elements?
Yeah, there's nothing positive about that.
We have no heat training. We're from North Idaho. Yeah. All the more to the point if you're not used to this
already,
heat.
Yeah, like, just know what you're getting into regardless of what route you take because that's a scary situation in itself.
You know what this makes me long for? It makes me long for the days back in January when you and me and Coach Arnie did our one day rim to rim to rim, and it was just the perfect conditions, or so I thought. Buffy wanted it to be warmer, but it was in the 40s and 50s. I thought it was perfect. It makes me long for those days when you don't have to worry about the weather. But, like I say so often, the unfortunate part of the timing of rim to rim season being from May 15th to October 15th is in Arizona, the entirety of it. Every single day of rim to rim season has the potential to be too hot to hike comfortably. Doesn't always happen. A lot of times October is fantastic, but I'll again say if you're going to delay your rim to rim, if you're going to put this bucket list hike off, come back in October, come back in late October, come back in November when the weather is perfect. Logistics are a little bit harder because the North Rim services are closed, but you don't have to worry about any of this heat stuff. You're going to have a fantastic adventure. That's the way to do it. So if you can delay this, the Grand Canyon's not going anywhere, right, Buff? It's not going anywhere. You can come back and do this bucket list hike another time and have a better experience. And that's all we want is for people to have a great experience.
Yeah, I want people to be able to come back. I truly think that I truly think that people are going to be very seriously injured this summer if they leave it open the way it is. And this is it's scary to me.
I'm sorry to say that I will be shocked if we don't have some really, really bad situations this summer because of this of this situation.
No, people will die.
Yeah. It's a shame to say it, but it's probably real. But Buffy, thanks for jumping on here with us. Super, super important to try to get accurate information out to everyone and hopefully give people some options. we're bummed out for everyone, but it's important for us to get on here and kind of tell it like it is, and hopefully help people make the safest decision for them before they take on rim to rim in the Grand Canyons. Thanks for being with us, Buff.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, that's it for this very special edition of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Thank y'all for joining us. We'll be back next week with another new episode. We're actually talking to the marvelous Miss Mary, who I recently did a canyon hike with. It was her 193rd time below the rim. We got to get Buffy and Miss Mary together at some point. But you'll want to tune in for that, and we'll be back with new episodes throughout Rim to Rim season every Wednesday right here on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.